Hello, Endgame community. Thanks for joining us as always. And if you're new to the channel, big welcome. I'm Pierre, he is Chris, and we're here to help you win at fantasy football. For week 5, it's time to talk about our busts of the week, guys that we think you should fade or just flat out sit in your lineups to help you win. Of course, that's the goal. So Chris, who's the guy that you don't like this week?
I don't like Chris Carson this week, not just because of what we saw last week with Alex Collins coming in late and kind of taking over that backfield. I don't think that's going to be a long-term issue for Chris Carson, but it is an issue, right? He's not really getting tons of touches anyways. He's not getting, 18, 19, 20 carries. He's not really heavily involved in the passing game this year. But not only that, going up against that Rams defense, that's really a defense you want to avoid for running backs. I mean, kind of for wide receivers too, but especially for running backs. So, knowing that Chris Carson isn't getting that workhorse type of usage that we would like to see from him in a tough matchup, I just think Chris Carson has another week where he's going to bust.
Yeah, I mean, Carson's always been one of my favorite players. Not looking too good lately, and you can't love his chances. So I agree, if you have a better option, you might want to pivot. And I know this is going to be hard for a lot of people to accept, but, there are some times where a guy you think is an absolute stud at the position is just not worth starting. And I'm going to go with George Kittle this week. So first of all, we know there's an issue with the calf. He was questionable throughout the week. He did play, but then we saw what happened. In the first half, did okay, 4 catches for 40 yards. In the second half, it's non-existent. Didn't do anything. It did also happen to coincide with Trey Lance coming in. I'm not saying Trey Lance hates George Kittle. I'm just saying the offense is going to operate a little differently. Okay, so Trey Lance, it looks like he will be starting in week 5. Jimmy G, also with a calf issue. Who knows how long that's going to last. But at the very least, in the short term, I just don't like Kittle's chances of having a big game. And Arizona does happen to be one of the toughest defenses against the tight end, as it turns out. So I'm just not feeling George Kittle, and I want to let y'all know to watch out for that. Guys, if you do appreciate what we're doing in this video and throughout the year to help you win, consider giving us a like. We definitely appreciate that. All right, so let's keep it going. Chris, give me another bust for week 5.
I mean, this one almost seems too easy, but Myles Gaskin definitely going to bust in week 5. Not only is he very, not really involved much at all since Jacoby Brissett took over, wasn't super involved even with Tua. Now going up against that Bucs defense, we talked about it. You had your boy Damian Harris as a must-sit last week against this Bucs defense. We saw what happened there. I think he had -4 rushing yards. Gaskin last week, only 2 carries for 3 yards and no receptions. That's the really concerning thing here, because at least with Tua, he was getting, 4, 5, 6 catches a game to kind of save himself in PPR. But against this Bucs defense, with his role since Jacoby Brissett has taken over, there is no way you can start Myles Gaskin this week unless you literally have no other option at running back. Definitely going to bust in week 5.
Definitely agree with you there. He's just looking more and more replaceable. I mean, for lack of a better word, nothing special there. All right, so it's tough to say which Broncos running back do you start in a given week, and the answer this week for me is going to be neither. Again, it's not a matter of talent. I love Javonte Williams. Talked about how much I like him as a second half play. Melvin Gordon looked fine. The injury didn't bother him last week, but what did bother them is the fact that they're splitting time. It's nearly a 50-50 split. There's just not enough touches for either one to be dependable unless it's a great matchup. It's not a great matchup. It is Pittsburgh. And for all the things that are gone wrong with Pittsburgh, as far as Big Ben's arm and the offensive line being terrible and the injuries on defense, they do still have a very talented defense, and they've been very good as far as run defense. So I don't think there's either one of these guys I can feel comfortable playing in this matchup. I just don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. And the fact that Drew Lock might be at quarterback, that doesn't make me feel good about the Denver offense in general. So right now, I'm looking elsewhere. I'm going to have to fade both Broncos running backs, both Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, for week 5. All right, we're going to keep going with a few more busts. First, guys, let me tell you that we do have a Patreon page. If you want to check that out, the information is in the description below. Just click on it and check out all the things that you can get with a membership. All right, so Chris, another bust for week 5, someone that you just don't trust.
I had Odell as a must start last week, and really it wasn't his fault. Baker Mayfield missed him over and over again. I mean, he threw it 5 yards behind Odell Beckham when he was wide open for like a 60-yard touchdown. It was horrible and painful to watch. But now this week against the Chargers, now he can't be trusted at all because A, he's still got Baker Mayfield, who apparently can't throw a football anymore, and B, the Chargers secondary is very good. And we've talked about it. You know, I know the Raiders didn't have a lot of success running the ball against this Chargers defense, but they are susceptible on the ground, much better against the pass. So I love Odell, love the player, but given the fact that Baker Mayfield can't seem to throw it accurately to Odell anytime, and given the tough matchup, I think Odell is headed for a bust in week 5.
Yeah, I had high hopes for Odell, but, you know, it's just not there. The connection's not there. And I keep saying, just imagine how good this Browns team could be if they had a good quarterback. All right, so on that note, I'm going to talk about a quarterback without any receivers. That's Ryan Tannehill. And you can say, well, you know what? He acquitted himself pretty well at 298 yards last week without Julio Jones or A.J. Brown. You know, he's still being fairly accurate. Tennessee's doing okay, except that they lost to the Jets. Well, look, that yardage came with a whole extra quarter of play in overtime, and they had to pass to try to keep up with the Jets. All right, and he's still going to be probably without at least one, if not both of those receivers. I know it's tempting to roll him out because you see Jacksonville on the schedule, and we go crazy. We think, yeah, you're going to stream everybody against Jacksonville. They have slightly tightened things up on defense the last 2 games. I mean, let's just say it's not a sieve anymore. So it's not a guarantee Tannehill's going to put up huge yardage. You know, Derrick Henry is still the offense there. I don't think you're going to roll out with Tannehill just because of the matchup. He's still not playing that well. He's getting sacked like crazy, taking the most sacks out of any quarterback, 17 so far in 4 games. The offensive line is a mess. So I'm taking a chance with another quarterback if I have to stream. There's plenty of quarterbacks in that range I would rather have this week instead. All right, one more bust. Who you got?
I'm going to say Michael Pittman is going to bust in week 5. And look, most weeks I'm going to recommend starting Michael Pittman. It's been a great second year for Michael Pittman, but going up against Baltimore, that secondary is really good. Marlon Humphrey is likely going to be on him a lot. He's not going to shadow him, but he'll be on him a lot. He's been good most of his career, really, but he's still very good this year. We saw what he did to Denver last week. Obviously, you know, Teddy B getting hurt and Drew Lock coming in certainly helped. But I got to think it's going to be another, you know, down week for Michael Pittman. Carson Wentz, man, he can't get out of his own way. It seems like behind that offensive line, can't move with those 2 busted ankles. So I just think Baltimore's defense is going to have a field day against this Colts offense, going to get a lot of pressure on Carson Wentz. And I just think Michael Pittman's going to be in for a down game.
Yeah, and, you know, frustrating for Pittman owners. Last week, twice came within inches of getting a touchdown. One time he went down and got tackled at the 1-yard line, and another time he was wide open in the back of the end zone and he was missed. You know, imagine how much better the Colts would be if they had a good quarterback. All right, and then my last bust. Look, you probably weren't thinking about Randall Cobb before last week, and then he goes out and scores 2 touchdowns because MVS was out. And so now all of a sudden everyone's going to say, oh, he's back, right? We've been through this before, haven't we? Randall Cobb, he's going to be his favorite receiver. He's not. Let's just stop. Okay, the first 3 weeks in PPR, full PPR leagues, Randall Cobb had exactly 4, and then 6, and then 0 points for fantasy. And then last week he gets 24 because he had those 2 touchdowns and a few catches. Let's just stop pretending it's going to keep happening because it happened once. They're not going to need to throw it a ton against Cincinnati, I'm going to guess. So don't go crazy and start putting Randall Cobb in your lineup. You want to stash him at the end of your bench in case of emergency. I got no problem with that, but don't start him in week 5 just because of last week. All right, guys, that does it for our bust. Don't forget to check out our booms also in a separate video. And of course, if you enjoy any of this, hit that subscribe button and check out all the information in the description below, ways that you can join our community and make it the best out there. All right, thanks for watching and good luck.